Anyone who thought we didn't get enough screen time of Ana de Armas kicking ass in No Time to Die, boy, do I have the movie for you. It's me, by the way. I'm anyone. Thank you for joining me for my review of Ballerina, or I guess, From the World of John Wick. Ballerina. Get that out of here. No, Ballerina. I'm a huge fan of the John Wick movies. I love them. I am very curious what they're going to do with the fifth one. I'm a little worried. 4 was so amazing. It's like, you do have to stop at some point. There is a point where it's not gonna be amazing anymore. Also, Keanu Reeves might break his spine at one point. He can't do this forever. But I can't deny that I am excited for more, because they're so much fun. And I'm also down for spin-offs. I love this world. I remember seeing the first one when it came out and wanting to know so much more about this world of assassins, and then it expanded so much in the sequels. And so getting a chance to live in this world more. I didn't watch the show, The Continental. Maybe I should have, but I don't know. I don't think anybody watched it. I didn't really hear anybody say anything about it, so I feel like I didn't miss anything. But in terms of film, I want to see more in this world, and I'm really interested in seeing it from other characters' perspectives. However, Len Wiseman was attached to direct, and I don't think he's the worst filmmaker in the world or anything. I think Underworld is goofy fun, but he's certainly never done anything that made me think he would be able to helm John Wick-level action scenes, or anything even remotely close. And apparently, I was correct to think that, because Chad Stahelski, the man responsible for the whole John Wick franchise, was brought in to reshoot the whole fucking movie. Not quite, but from what I've heard, the reshoots were substantial. It was like a majority of the film. I would imagine that pretty much every action scene can be attributed almost entirely to him in the final cut that we have. So it's bizarre that they ever thought they could do this with a director who there was no reason to believe was up to snuff, but better late than never that they realized their mistake and brought in somebody who could make the movie better. They cared enough that they wanted it to be good, they wanted it to honor the John Wick name, to be worthy, and it is. I didn't go in expecting this to be as good as the mainline series. It didn't need to be. Those are some of my favorite action movies of all time, so most action movies are not as good as them. All I needed to see was some good ass kicking, and oh boy, I got that. Ana de Armas is great. She's very committed to the action. I would love to see more of her in a Ballerina 2, or we can get a fucking Avengers level team up in future John Wick movies. I don't know. I don't know what they're gonna do with this franchise. I don't know how far is too far, but I want to see more of her. She was awesome. We see like every stage of her life. We see her from a very young age, the trauma that brings her into this world, what motivates her to become a killer. We see her training. We see her develop her own fighting style. We see her get her ass kicked a lot in these fights. Like, she's a badass. She's gone to the John Wick school of ass kicking, but nobody from that school can kick ass quite as hard as he can. So she's awesome. But she's also very vulnerable. Like, she is a smaller, weaker person, and she does take a lot of damage in a lot of these fights, and you feel the tension. Especially at the beginning, they show that she needs to learn and harden her skills, harden her determination, and she does throughout the course of the movie, and the action just gets absolutely crazy, and there's a ton of it. Hand-to-hand combat, the shootouts that you kind of expect from John Wick, this fits in very well. Stylistically, visually, it fits in with that world, and we get into some really creative shit involving grenades, involving flamethrowers. That was probably the standout. They do shit with flamethrowers in this that I've never seen anybody do before. If you've ever wanted to see a shootout, but with flamethrowers, it's here, and it's awesome. It's very bloody. It's very violent. People getting stabbed in the face, people exploding. They go for it. Sometimes like a very over-the-top, intentionally comedic gore, blood spray, and yeah, I smiled at those moments. It's all filmed very well. There's a lot of intensity to it. The choreography is fantastic. The stunt work, you can tell Ana de Armas and everybody else are so committed to these roles, and I can only imagine that the Len Wiseman version, I don't mean to be mean to the man as a human being. I'm sure he's a fine gentleman, but his version of the movie, I can only imagine, would have just been so much worse. So I think they learned their lesson. Like, when you make more of these, even if they're spin-offs, make sure you have a director, a stunt team, choreographers. Make sure they're all among the best of the best, because it's John Wick. You need to live up to that name. It also fits in thematically with the John Wick series. A big theme of those films was John's ability or inability to make choices for himself, to leave this life, whether fate is going to pull him back into this world no matter what, and that's what this is about as well. You could say it's kind of rehashing certain things, but I think it's worthy for the first spin-off in this series to kind of address a similar message as the main films do. That's kind of the main question that our lead, Eve, is dealing with, because her father, when she was a child, didn't want her to be part of this life, and now she's on her quest to avenge him, and she's doing so by becoming part of the life he didn't want her to be in. And you've got different characters who are saying, this is just who you were made to be, there's nothing you could do about it, this is what you were gonna be. Some characters even use that as like an excuse, like, hey, I'm not really responsible, like, I don't have to feel bad about all the terrible shit that I'm doing, this was just thrust upon us, this is just who we were meant to be. But then she's saying, no, I was given a choice to do this, and technically she was, but then you consider that she was like 8 or something like that, and it's like, does a child that young have the capacity to understand this level of choice that they're making? Isn't it really immoral to give an 8-year-old the choice to become a professional assassin? Is it really a choice? So it makes sense to have John Wick as a character in the movie because he's also struggled with that kind of thing, and it makes sense to have him there to tell her, you can make your own choices, and you probably should soon, because the longer you wait, the harder it's gonna be. Having him in there feels a little fan servicey, like the movie would have worked just fine without him at all, but I can't deny that I love seeing him. It's great seeing Keanu kick ass all the time. It's great seeing him take like 5 minutes to say 3 words: rules and consequences. And he fits into the story well enough. It takes place basically during the events of the 3rd film. And you've got some other people in here, like Ian McShane and Lance Reddick. I didn't know Lance Reddick was in this one too. I didn't know that they filmed it before he passed away, so it was actually a surprise seeing him again. Rest in peace, sir. But it was nice seeing all of these familiar things. Like, I will be honest, there's a bias there for me towards this franchise. If this was just a standalone action movie that had nothing to do with anything that I was already attached to, I wouldn't like it quite as much. But seeing the Continental, seeing Winston, seeing all of this stuff does inherently get me on board a little bit better. And there are some good new additions to the franchise. Gabriel Byrne is very good as the villain. Norman Reedus is not in the movie very much. I was excited to see him. He was good for what he had to do. I was disappointed. Whatever you thought about Ana de Armas in No Time to Die, that's Norman Reedus in this. Where it's like, oh, they're gonna team up and he's gonna be around and they're gonna be kicking ass together for a while. And it's like, oh, he stayed there. Okay. The story is pretty bare bones. It's a pretty generic, straightforward revenge tale that they just used the John Wick franchise to tell. Hopefully in future spin-offs, they go for something a little bit more unique. I mean, if we're gonna get that Kane movie, we kind of know what to expect there, but, you know, this one was extremely simple. Girl's dad murdered. Gotta go get revenge. That's really it. Ana de Armas is great. I like the character a lot. We see like every single step of her journey, so I'm very much with her and I'm on board with her as a character, and she kicks ass and the action is really good and there's a lot of it. So I'm still enjoying myself the whole time, but the actual story beats along the way. There's really nothing surprising. And I think they know that because there is so much action. They knew that's what they needed to prioritize. There will be a scene where she shows up somewhere and a dude just shows up immediately and starts shooting. She'll show up somewhere, there will be like a couple lines between characters, then dudes show up and start shooting. They know what you're there for, they know what the strengths are, and so they make sure to give it to you. It doesn't quite have that emotional hook or the intrigue of the world that the original John Wick had. It expands on the world a little bit, showing like this other faction that's adjacent to the people that we know, but a little bit different. They operate a little bit more in the gray and they're like a little bit darker. So yeah, I don't know what it says about me, but I never cared about this girl's dead father as much as I cared about that dead puppy. I'm sorry, it's just true. That puppy meant something, man. That puppy was the catalyst for the biggest killing spree of all time. R.I.P. Daisy. The story structure could have also used some tightening up, especially at the beginning, because we're seeing every little bit of her life. It takes a while before the hook really shows itself, before she finds out how she can find the people related to her actual mission of avenging her father. So until then, we're just seeing her grow as a person and as a fighter and a killer, and we'll see things like her first job. Nothing and nobody involved in this first job matters. Like, they never come back later. It never ties in. We just see it because it's her first job, and we're seeing these snapshots of her life. So it got me on board with the character, but it also felt like, okay, there's not really much story here until it finally kicks in after a little while. I still think it mostly works. I do like the fact that we saw so much of her training and so much of her getting this time in the field before she set out on her main mission. It works because we already know this world, and I know already that I want to be spending time in this world. So I'm willing to just watch this girl grow and live her life until the story gets to where it needs to be. The story tries to throw a twist in there. It's the worst twist I've ever seen in my entire life. There's a line at the beginning of the movie that essentially tells you that it's going to happen, because if it didn't, there would be no reason for that line to be there. And then as the movie goes along, it's incredibly obvious, and you're just waiting for them to stop treating you like you're in kindergarten. And luckily they don't wait until the very end to reveal it, but still, when they reveal it, I'm just like, yeah, I know. No shit. So the story is not what you go to this for, and I do think it runs a little long at a bit over 2 hours, even though there is a ton of action. It drags a tiny little bit, just because I did need that extra story investment that I didn't have. But luckily you have a good lead character and actress, and some great action. It doesn't live up to the other movies. There are individual action scenes that are really good, but even in terms of the action overall, I don't think it's gonna stick in my memory quite as strongly as any of the other movies. Like, they all have such incredible standout scenes in them, but this was still really good. You could say the John Wick movies are like this, where a lot of the story elements feel like they're just the excuse to get us to the next action scene. That's definitely how it feels here. But that first movie got me on board with John's journey so strongly that I don't mind that as much throughout his story. Fuck Theon Greyjoy, dude. Piece of shit. And this one just doesn't quite have that, but it's a really fun time. I'm down to see more in the world of John Wick. I'm gonna give it a 3.5 out of 5. But that about covers it for what I have to say about Ballerina for now, so leave your thoughts down in the comments whether you agree or disagree. I want to talk more about it down there. If you enjoyed the video, leave a thumbs up, subscribe if you want to see more from me. I really appreciate it, and I'll see you next time.